Hello, and welcome to the Consider Your Mind podcast. I'm your host, Eric King, and along with my co host, Mino Pachan, we're here to talk about all things mental health. Let's get into it. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Consider Your Mind podcast. I'm
Yeah,
your
yeah.
gracious host, Eric King, and I'm joined by that, not a friend of the show, my other co-host down there, you know what I'm saying? Mr. More
Bam.
Beats, the fam, man. Our first
Yes, sir.
guest, my first guest to my last, you always gonna be around, man. So Mr. Stephen Moore joins us once again here today.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man,
Appreciate it, brother.
definitely.
Appreciate
And it
it.
and this is special too because again, I'm in the cities, people that don't know. I'm visiting my parents, gotta go check up on the rents, gotta check up on our other co-host Mino, continue to keep him in your
Yes,
prayers and in
sir.
your thoughts as he goes through what he's going through physically. So yeah, I'm pulling up on everybody, gotta check in with people. It's good for your mental health.
Hell yeah,
You know
man.
what I'm saying? Yeah, man.
Connections.
So absolutely. This life is about relationships, man.
Hell
And
yeah.
so yeah, man, I brought you on because I wanted to, in light of recent events in both of our lives, man, just a lot going on.
Yeah, man. Definitely.
Yeah, just wanted to catch up with you, chop up, do this family stress part 2 episode because in part 1, we talked about, some, just general family stresses and some things we saw on the internet,
Yeah.
and specifically about Trent Williams when he was, the football player going through his um, cancer scares and
Oh
all
yeah.
that other
Yep.
stuff. Yeah,
I
yeah, it was a
remember
bit.
that. I remember
Yeah,
you guys
man,
talking
it
about that.
was. Yeah, just scary, and all that stuff. All of a sudden, that's a family thing now. All of a sudden, it's get your affairs in order for your daughters,
Yeah.
for your
Yeah.
kids, and so it's just that stress of how everything just matters that much more, particularly when you're a parent, when you got a family and things, man. And so, me being a new father, all 6 months into this adventure, man, let me tell you, man, the stress, simple things become massive now,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah. Definitely.
emotionally, man. So, um,
Definitely, man. Family stress, dude. I didn't really understand the whole, or I didn't read up on the whole Trent story. So
mhm,
when I heard you guys talking about that, I was dope and looked into it. And he does a lot of stuff for like, I think he was like helping a lot of like domestic stuff too. Donate
yeah,
money.
domestic centers and stuff. Yeah, he
Yeah,
did a lot
yeah.
with his money, man.
So I think that was awesome. All the people who's advocating and trying to um help families through rough times, because those like a death in the family is a huge
Mhm,
family stressor,
definitely.
especially if the person who passed away didn't have their affairs in order.
Mhm.
Um,
The
there's a lot,
GoFundMe life, yeah, man.
you know
Yeah,
what I
we
mean.
always see that.
So then you end up seeing stuff on the GoFundMe. The people, a lot of family, um, a lot of stress, but a lot of family beefs, inner family little
Mhm,
beefs be happening. Oh, I ain't talking to her, or oh, I don't talk to that dude, or whatever. Comes in between families. We were recently just talking to R.I.P. Takeoff.
man, yes.
I
Rest in
could
peace,
just
Takeoff of Amigos. Yeah,
R.I.P. Takeoff, man. Migos. Uh,
28
I'm
years
pretty
old,
sure
man.
28, dude. I'm pretty sure and like we were talking. He was like, imagine telling his sister, like he gotta tell his sister that. It's like,
Yeah,
man, that's
Quavo.
crazy.
Again, people aren't
That's
big
family.
Migos fans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There, three of them: Quavo, Offset, and Takeoff. And Takeoff was the youngest, and it's actually Quavo's nephew, so he's a few years younger. He was the youngest, and then Offset's, their cousin, and he was recently killed. Takeoff, 28 years old, killed. Right near his cousin. They was
Mm.
at a dice game. Something broke out, and he just got caught in the crossfire. Um, and and so it takes on a whole nother level. You lose, your friend, your bandmate, as it were,
Yeah.
musical partner, but somebody you grew up with, your family. This is literally y'all got shot. Y'all grew up the whole childhood together. His sister,
Yeah.
Quavo's sister is Takeoff's mother, and I have to
Man.
face your sister. I can't
All the
imagine.
holiday events, the
I can't imagine.
barbecues, the Thanksgiving is coming upon us.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's uh ways to deal with a lot of these
Hmm.
family stresses. I'm gonna segue
Hmm.
into that so I don't go too deep in on the takeoff thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that still is a fresh wound
It's
over
too
here,
fresh, man. Yeah, it's
too
too. We still
fresh.
hurt, man. I'm still sick about that, man.
Yeah. Dealing with family stressors, it's good that, like we were just saying, have somebody in your corner. You coming
Hmm.
back to Minnesota, visiting your family. It seems like all of this stuff is happening at a perfect time. Couldn't come at a better time.
Hmm.
Um, we both had a
Yeah.
lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, and again, little background. We tried to do this podcast for the last couple weeks. Okay, we
Yeah,
decided,
yeah,
okay, man, hey, let's do Thursdays, man. We can start a new schedule, do our own thing. Why not? And
yeah.
first Thursday, I get into a car accident on my way home to record, man.
And you
My
know what's
whole
funny?
car
Uh,
accident, happened.
a actual week after you, it was
Hmm.
me. I got into a
The
car accident
next
on
Thursday,
Thursday.
exactly.
Next
So this
Thursday,
is our
I get into
third
a car accident.
Thursday trying
I
this,
said,
man.
"Oh no, dude." And I
But that
think
is,
before your car accident, it was like a couple of weeks prior, my wife had gotten into a car accident. So I was dealing with her car accident. Then you got one. I
man.
was like, "Oh," no. And then I got one. I said, "Oh, it comes in threes, bro." I don't
Man,
know.
yeah, it's just, I mean, thank God everybody is okay. We're all doing well.
Yeah,
Again, it's not the most
it's
mentally
just a
healthy thing to
headache.
say to people when they're going through it, but hey, it could always be worse. Yes, it could have been worse.
Yes,
Because
yeah.
again, going back to the theme of the show, family stress, all of a sudden you have a family, everything is magnified. Now I'm thinking, oh my God, thank God my son wasn't in the car with me.
Ooh, yes.
Thank God I wasn't, going any faster and I'm hurt now. I'm, laid up or whatever, can't take care, couldn't work, couldn't take care of my baby. All of a sudden this stuff just would normally would just be fine, and like,
Mhm.
dang, went through it. Dang, I don't have a car right now. This is a bad timing, getting a new apartment. I'm a little broke. All of this stuff. Normally when it's just me, I don't care.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden, there's, I have a dependent. We were talking about taxes a little bit earlier. You running out of dependents, old man.
Yeah.
But
Hell yeah.
I
I'm
have for
running
real
out.
have a for real
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
dependent,
You got a
and
dependent.
yeah, and so that mindset, it just
Yeah.
it can stress you out because one of the things, and shout out to the mother of my child, Bria, a couple weeks ago after my
What up, Bria?
again, yeah, man, after the car accident, and she knew I wasn't gonna be able to, pick him up and see him like I normally would. I used to
Yeah.
pick him up from work, da, da, da. I had a routine down, and all of a sudden it hit me like the inability to go get my son, the inability to go get my child, bro. That it depressed me,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
I didn't understand,
Yeah,
you
you like,
know.
"What?" Yeah.
Oh man, that was hurting. So shout out to her for bringing them over, bringing her and her mom, picked them up, dropped them off at the crib. We all hung out, so I got
That's
to
what's
see
up.
them, and I needed it at the time. That was water in the desert because I'm just down on
Right.
myself. Like, man, messed up, man. I should have
Right.
prepared ahead for this. Da, da, da. You're just whooping your own behind for no reason. My son don't know nothing about this. His day is going on like nothing is happening. He's growing like a regular
A
6 month
great
old.
day for
Yeah,
him. Yeah, he's
yeah. Me, myself, and I, man, I'm over here. I'm just trying to do a little podcast drive. How am I getting no car?
Yeah.
I'm now I aspire to I'm a bad father. Oh Lord,
Oh,
why I can't? We go there though. So
oh,
that's why
yeah.
it's important to have some perspective, have some people around you in a support system to let you know, no, man, the world is not over. The sky is not falling. This is just
Yes.
one thing. This doesn't define you.
Speaking of not defined you, I could
Back away
speak
from the
on something.
ledge.
Yeah. I got into a car accident with my kids in the car. You know
Ooh,
what I mean?
okay.
And stuff like that. When you say, yeah, try not to let it define you, I thought about some of the stuff that happened, and I was like, if you hold on to it too much,
Mm-hmm.
realizing that, okay, I made a mistake that didn't define who I am as a person. I'm not that reckless or that type of person.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, dude, I remember getting into a car accident with the kids in the cars, and they were younger. It was
Mm-hmm.
in a parking lot. Some lady had whipped out too quick, and I hit her. Or I don't. Yeah, I think I hit it. Boom.
Parking lot, yeah.
Yeah, and the kids were. It wasn't even that like big of a car accident, but the whole initial situation, you got to get out, exchange information.
Mm-hmm.
The cops, it could be a little intimidating for a kid. Like, even though it wasn't my fault, but just because they're experiencing this right now, you're like you said, these is my they depend on me to make sure that they're okay.
And
And
you feel like you're letting them down, and
yeah,
that's a
yeah,
new feeling to me, growing
yeah.
up, we have that, our parents, what they say, the worst thing a parent can say, "I'm not mad at you, I'm just
I'm just
disappointed."
disappointed.
That's
Yeah.
that nuclear bomb they just drop, that little
Yeah.
thing explode on you. But it's
Yeah.
just like, that feeling of, shout out to Kevin Hart, irresponsible. You're
Yeah.
feeling all of a sudden there's all these things that are just added on to you,
Yeah.
that are a lot of times self-imposed. It's a narrative that we're telling ourselves. It's a story we're
Mm.
telling ourselves. Nobody else was, beating you up about this. They've gone through it. I tell, hey man, got into a car accident, da, da, da," and
Yep.
you tell me, hey man, I've been with my children in the car.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
so it's just there's always, levels to this, but at the
More than
time when you're
once,
going,
but
yeah,
I
hey,
was
man, you've had a long time to
well,
be a parent, right? You're doing
yeah,
a lot
well,
of trips. This
my
man taking a
son
lot of
they were a
miles
little
with the
bit
babies,
older.
man.
They were a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit older, too, when I got into cars. Like, he was a teenager. and boom, you know what I mean? Like, when I had the pickup truck, a lady turned in front of me, and you know, she got out and apologized and everything, but you know, like we said, I'm responsible for this kid
Mhm.
regardless. She turns in front of me, crash, boom, all the airbags go off. My coffee spills all over the all over the place. And
Console and everything, yeah.
yeah, my son is like, "Oh, my Jordans," or he was worried about his shoes. My whole truck smashed up. I'm like,
My shoe.
he's
Daddy, go
like, "My shoes."
perspective.
Yeah,
Kids will put stuff in perspective for you, man.
yeah.
But
So
in
I
those
don't.
times, man, in those times though, especially when you're down on yourself, you're going through it, you're feeling not like irresponsible, not such a great parent, whatever it
Yeah.
is, you're disappointing your children. Again, shout out to that support system. You got your wife, like I just said, the
Yes.
mother, my children, like to let you know, no, it's okay. This isn't, because it's easy to kick people when they're down. And what's
Oh
messed
yeah.
up is, we can get in certain moods. And it depends on the backgrounds. I had a buddy of mine. We discussed this. We can go looking for the abuse. We can go
Exactly.
looking, you know, to somebody to validate that we are bad, parent, that we are irresponsible, that we are disappointing our children and stuff like that. We can a piece of us, if we kind of grow up in a household where that was petty, as they call it, and let you slide
Yeah.
with nothing to get on you about anything. We can carry that into our adulthoods, so that like an episode I did on cognitive dissonance, way back in the beginning of the shows. If that's the what we have in our mind, if that's what we believe we are, we'll change the good things that are going on in our lives to go ahead and
Hmm.
match that. you
Oh
know
yeah. Yeah.
so it's something that we have to be on guard for, man, because the stakes are too high. It's one thing, again, for me to be um, you know, going through it personally,
Yeah.
depressed, whatever it is,
Yeah.
handling it myself. But um, I can't let that interfere with my responsibilities now that I have as a father. Like, you can't,
Responsibility.
yeah,
Yes,
you
you
can't,
are.
like,
Yep.
it's sorry, like, there's only so, like, there's a priority list in everyone's life. There's only 24 hours a day. We got a priority list. There's only so far you can let your family and, taking care of your family responsibilities slip on that list.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not everything can slide like that.
That is exactly what you just mentioned. Was exactly like I'm looking up family stresses and stuff like that on the internet, right? Say somebody's going through this, that's tend to be people's first thing. Oh, Google it, right? And
Yeah, yeah, of
looking
course.
into it, it says family stress examples, trying to balance work and parenting.
Mhm.
Just like what you said too, and caring for a new baby while trying to maintain previous responsibilities. That
Mm.
is a sign, or an example of family stress, and that's
Mhm.
exactly what you're probably experiencing right now. Caring for a new baby while trying to maintain previous responsibilities. That could be tough, you know.
Yeah. No,
Big
definitely,
shout out
man.
to anybody that's doing it. You know,
Yeah,
there's a
man.
lot
Shout
of.
out to all the single mothers out there. Again, shout out to the mother of
Oh
my
yeah,
child, everybody, because it's not easy. I know Cat Williams had this joke, a long time ago. Shout out to Cat
yeah,
Williams. He was like, "Hey, all the fellas out there, how many of y'all got a crazy baby mama?" And all the fellas brothers, it's He's like, "Oh, look at you, all testifying." He's like, "All right, okay, I understand, but just keep in mind, you may not want to have her job." And I was like, "Yo, that's real talk." So no
yeah,
matter
yeah,
what, it is, I keep things in perspective. It's not necessarily even balancing, the stresses of taking care of them. I have them a little bit of time throughout the week,
yeah.
but it's
The
again being away from
responsibilities.
them, not again just that stress of not being able to go just get him when I want to. You know what I'm saying? Just
Yes.
I be able to bust a move. Okay, this. Before I could put okay the schedule limitations. All right, these are the days that work for her, work for me. All right, it's negotiated. Now all of a sudden, bang! It's like you felt like the power's taken away,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
and that was again dealing
Yeah,
with those emotions, dealing with that stress, like, yeah, I understand it. Like that's why I'm so glad we're doing a part two to this. I can understand
yeah.
that family stress a lot more, you know, because when it's really just not all about you.
Yep, and, you know, not dealing with family stressors and letting them, carry on for a long period of time can lead and develop long-term dysfunctional behavior patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And especially like you have a young child, you want healthy behavioral patterns around them is what they see because we're creating the next future.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be very cautious of what we do and say and how we act around them. Um, just as
Mm-hmm.
much, and I know I might get a lot of flack for this. If y'all don't like it,
Uh,
bring it on. Leave me a message or whatever. But
consider your mind first.
yeah, yes, yes. But as I'm gonna bring it up because we are a podcast. We're talking mental health. The way Kanye was reacting, right? People hold that to a standard, but you also might allow like, and I'm not coming at hip hop. Y'all know I'm a holla early head and everything, but had Kanye said that stuff over a dope beat, I don't think he would get that much heat for it.
That's
You
deep.
have if he would have said that over a track with a dope sample and everything, would he be in as much? But he said it in that form of a sentence. But you hear this stuff that Cardi B and these people talk about. It's horrible, bro.
Hmm.
Horrible. But
Yeah,
we running
yeah.
around singing it. Shake your window to your butthole. To
From
beep,
the
beep, beep, beep.
window to the
All it. Think
wall.
about how aggressive and demeaning some of the music and stuff we are listening to, and
The messaging, yeah. But
nobody
you put it to a
bats an
nice
eye.
beat. Yeah, you put it
Nobody
to a
bats
nice
an
beat.
eye. The dude says it now. Look, I would love for somebody just to quote somebody's lyrics in an interview and see what happens. Don't use it over a beat. Just go and just say the song lyrics of somebody's. I want to skeet skeet skeet. You're like, oh no, turn this dude off. Turn that off. There's kids
Yeah,
out there. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Did
But
he say he gonna shoot up the funeral? Wait a minute. They just the
especially
funeral suite. Like, wait a minute.
especially drill music, bro.
You
Like,
know the
people are
things.
actually dying because of some of this stuff that these dudes are doing in this hip hop music. And I'm not trying to deviate the fault that Kanye was at and what he said, because he was faulty in what he said, just as well as
Yeah, right
but
is
if
right, wrong is wrong.
right is right, wrong, yeah, exactly. But holding people accountable, you know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah, holding
But
people
those are
accountable.
behavioral things, and that's why I was
Hmm.
tying that into the whole point of the
Hmm.
long-term family stresses.
Hmm.
So when you do have family stresses, it's good to address it and deal with it right away. Death. We were talking about that. I think Kanye kind of lost it when he lost his mother.
Oh, absolutely,
That's
man.
that's a huge family
Donda
stress.
is ain't been the
R.I.P.
same.
Exactly. So, same thing with Takeoff, man. I pray to God is with the families of these people, the victims. The real,
Hmm.
the victims are the family who
Hmm.
now have to live without that person and their
Hmm.
family.
Hmm.
How do we deal with that? Talking. We bottle so much stuff up and have this stigma, and it's weak to talk to people. Dude, I talk to a therapist every week. Um,
Hmm.
you have to get that stuff out. Um,
Absolutely.
the Catholic religion, they go and talk to a priest.
Confession.
Confession, right? Yeah, whoever you tell, whatever. But I think because I'm not here to judge anybody's beliefs or religions or anything like that. Just the process of whatever you do to become a better version of you. Do it.
Hmm.
Awesome. What is what it is.
Hmm.
But therapy is, hey, as
We're
I'm older
advocates over
now,
here.
yeah.
We're advocates for therapy. That's what
As
this
I
is about.
as I got older now, man, I had to grow up quick.
Hmm.
You've seen a lot that
Hmm.
changes you. You know,
Hmm. And the thing
definitely.
is, and especially if depending on the way you grow up, that's your environment. Um, you don't even know what's normal. You can get used to, like I said, the abuse. You can get used to, certain things that, as an adult, we only understand. Man, that wasn't right. Oh man, that still affects me to this day. Oh man,
Exactly.
da, da, da. Or
Exactly.
and this is when it really comes face to face. I know it'll hit me too. As you're parenting, all of a sudden you start repeating a pattern that your parents, showed you, and
Oh
having
yeah.
to check yourself. Like, wait a minute, this wasn't good, even though this is how I was. Da, da, da. And I know and particularly in the black community, man, we make jokes. We have all types of stuff about beating kids and all the whoopings we got and all these tales and stories. But that's one of the
They come
examples. It's
out.
like
Yeah.
exactly we have a whole,
Yeah. The
go
war
on and on
stories get to
about that,
coming
the
out.
war
Yeah.
stories, and but one thing we have to again keep in mind when we're doing that stuff is like, okay, but is that something that we would really want to continue? Is that something that
Yes.
that you actually
Exactly.
want to do? So
Are
that's
we
what
gonna
the
break that
choice is.
cycle?
Are we gonna break that cycle?
Do you want your children to go through
Mhm.
that same cycle?
He's like, well, this is what my parents did for me. Well, how'd that work? How do you feel about that? Sometimes we don't
Yeah.
even get that far to think about, how we were raised, our family, how that affected us,
Mm.
and to really have
Yeah.
the thought process to go, hey, how do I feel about that? How do I feel
Yeah.
about how my, mom did this and my dad didn't show up to this? Or how do I
Yeah.
feel about my brother, getting this and I'm not? How do I, we learn to accept it for so long, you
Yeah.
know, we learn
Yes,
to
sir.
accept it, but But again, at what cost though?
Yeah.
At what cost are you suppressing your emotions, suppressing your feelings, and then how much are you passing that on, when you have
Yeah.
your own, because you
But
can't take nobody nowhere you never been,
I'm gonna
you know
play
what
a
I'm
little bit
saying?
of devil's advocate here. All right, look, how about this? I'll say I had to go through that to become who I am now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say they don't go through none of that. Does it now soften them? You know what I mean?
What?
Some could say that that made us tougher, or and that
Mm-hmm.
made us a little bit hard. You know what I mean? Because every generation had it harder. I had to walk bare feet 2 miles uphill both
Both
ways to get
ways
this.
in the
Yeah,
snow.
So and it made them tough. And then they kind of were softer on us. At
Mm,
what point are we just making soft? You know what I mean, kids? Like you see now, the generation of being hurt. Oh, my
mm.
feelings are hurt. Oh, I'm
Trigger.
offended. I'm
I
a
need a
trigger.
safe space.
How
Um,
how soft are we gonna get before the the pendulum swings the other way? You
See,
know what I
speaking
mean?
again, the stress of just thinking about that. Okay, to whoop
Yeah.
or not to whoop, to ground or not to ground.
That
You know
is
what I'm
the
saying? Just
question.
that's the question, and just the stress of thinking about
The
that.
whoop
The
or not to whoop.
consequences. If you're
Uh,
not just going on autopilot, going on automatic, just doing. If you're really taking the time to evaluate this thing, evaluate your own behavior and all of that, but that's
yep.
part of the consequences of it. You're gonna be confronted with some things you don't necessarily want to see, some uncomfortable truths about yourself.
Yeah.
Even.
But I was gonna quote something from Psych Central. So this forum or something like that. It's about your psyche, your mental health, the same
See,
kind of
this is
stuff
why
we
I'm having him co-host because he got the good screens. I'm on my work computer. I can't pull up all them screens right now like I usually would. So teamwork
um
makes the dream work.
Dreamwork makes the dream work, baby. They
Mm-hmm.
talk about on here, and of course, Eric, I'm an advocate for all of my people out there who are going through recovery, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
Substance abuse, increased dependence on food, alcohol, or drugs may occur due to stress. That
Mm-hmm.
is one huge piece that has drove family stressors up in America. So
Mm. No, that's real.
everybody listen out there, understand that substance abuse or substance overuse is the term they use.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
watch your usage. I'm not here to
Boy.
diagnose anybody of using too much or not. I'm the last one to talk.
You know, but though, what you're
Yes,
talking about
yeah.
when you do though.
I
So
know a
yeah.
thing or two about that realm. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? When I speak on that too, just be cautious. I know a lot of young kids right now. Like Eric knows, I've been doing this father thing for a while. I got a 24-year-old son.
Yeah.
So
So,
yeah, put that in perspective. I know some kids, and I don't try to discourage them to not experiment. Man, look at us, we experimented. You know what I mean? I used to
mm-hmm.
do those stuff, but
But
it's not
nowadays the
necessarily
consequence is too
about
high, man.
the consequences are very high, but you also have to give people the room to be their self, but in a monitored way almost. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So like allowing them to make mistakes and allowing them to experience different things with kind of a moderate, like my daughter was dating, and you kind of have to allow her certain space to see what they do, and trust. You got to trust your parenting. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? If you constantly stopping your kid from the walking down the pothole, what happens when you're out the picture or they grow older? They're gonna fall right through the
Mm-hmm.
pothole because they never knew how to avoid it.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They never learned how to
Why
navigate
didn't
through
you
that.
tell him there was a pothole over there?
Yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
wanted him
Well,
to
I
learn
kept
for
saving you.
himself. Like, wait a
Yep.
minute.
You
Wait a
keep
minute.
jumping in and picking them up and turning them around, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But they keep going. So you're like, all right, you got to let them fall every now and again. And the same thing with substance overuse. I'm gonna say don't experiment, do what you do. Yeah, kids are gonna be kids, but
Mhm.
be cautious of your usage. If you start to find it becoming more and more than you feel like you need it and everything, that is a time to really do some self-aware, self-diagnosing, and talk to someone about it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Definitely. Uh,
Definitely, man.
that is a huge family stressor.
Mhm.
There's also a family discord. Lasting feuds and estrangement can occur among family members, especially those who don't live together.
Mm.
So I know a lot of that happened with me. when my daughter was very young. I was also still overusing substances,
Mhm.
and my daughter was very young. But I was very, very overprotective of my baby.
Mhm.
So I cut off a lot of family. I didn't go to a lot of family gatherings. A lot of the people that didn't live in our immediate household, there was always me. I had a lot of stress with that. Um,
Gotcha.
didn't
So it's
deal
like
with it the
almost like
best way.
isolating. Yeah, your way
Yeah,
instead of confronting it was to just isolate it so you don't got to
to
deal with it. And
isolate.
I think there's a lot of people listening that can relate to that. Instead of
Yep,
confronting, your parents or whatever they did, you just avoid them. And
you
then
just avoid them.
babies wondering why they don't never see their grandparents. They don't
Yeah,
never
I
heard
don't
of
know
Uncle
why
such
Steve
and
don't never
such.
come around. Yeah.
Yeah, what never heard of Uncle such and such. How come Aunt Betty don't never come up? You don't
Yeah,
even know.
exactly. You don't
It's
know.
crazy. Yeah.
You don't know what some
Mhm.
family are going through
Mhm.
sometimes. So obviously,
Yeah.
with that being said, don't jump to the worst case scenario for your family members out there.
Mhm.
If you do feel a family member starting, if you see him starting to isolate, reach out to that family member, man. Hit him up, shoot him a text. Hey man,
Exactly.
just checking on you. You know what I mean? Hoping
Absolutely.
you're all right.
Hey, it all
I
starts
love
with a
my cousins.
conversation. Yeah, it all starts with a
Exactly.
conversation, and we have a golden opportunity. This is the month of November, Thanksgiving coming, it's holiday season.
Thanksgiving coming around.
This is
Yep.
and this is again, I'm glad we're doing this episode now because this can be some of
Yep.
the worst times for people when you're
Very
supposed to
much
be
so.
around family, when you're
Very much
supposed to
so.
have holidays, and all of a sudden there's people not there no more. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You had a loss, or there's
Yep.
strife,
That family
discord.
stress.
That's the stress. And all of a sudden, you never had a Christmas without that person before. You never had a New Year's,
Yes.
without,
Yeah.
certain people in your life. And all of a sudden you got to go through those times without
Yes.
that person. And people deal it with in a variety of ways. I know a good friend
Mhm.
of mine, from the islands, once his grandmother passed, I think every now his mother and aunties and everything like that, they really don't spend the holidays there on the island. They like,
Yeah.
go somewhere else, take a trip because they always would be obviously
The
at his
memories were too
grandmother's
much.
house. Yes, the
Yeah.
memories were just too much. And
Yeah.
so that's the way that they, kind of dealt with it. And we have to just watch it as adults because we talk about stuff that are consequences that get put on our parents. Your
Yeah.
your daughter didn't know nothing about that stuff. She didn't know you're actually avoiding family fun. None of that stuff. They
Oh,
would
yeah.
not be
She
aware.
Yep.
Exactly. But you told me something that was so important the other day. On the Let's Talk About a podcast. You and your boy Sticks. You said children are a lot more resilient than you think.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
always stuck with me, even when, okay, I'm messing up, I'm not doing this correct.
Yeah.
Hey man, there's a lot of forgiveness with kids. They're more resilient. They can bounce back. You're not gonna
My sponsor
necessarily
told me
break
that.
them. Yeah,
My
that's
sponsor told me that before I checked myself into rehab, almost 5 years ago.
mm,
And that stuck with me when he said
yeah,
that to me, because I was scared about the 30 days that I was gonna be away from my
yeah,
kid, right? And he goes, "The kids are a lot more resilient than you think, Steve." And he said, "There's gonna be some years in her teenage life where she's really gonna need you, and you
there you
need to be
go.
there." He was like, "Yeah, I know they're young and everything, and it feels like these moments are super." And he's like, "They are, but they are a
Hmm.
lot more resilient, and she's gonna need you in the long run." Like words like that, and having a sponsor and having people in your life like that really help you through that type of family stress. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Especially that was something that I was experiencing. I had the
Yep.
substance overuse going on. I had the family distancing going on. Family feuds going on. I think I was salty at a cousin or something a while ago, and so I didn't really want to go around and stuff either. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
you stressing, like you just said, when Thanksgiving come around, oh man, I really don't want to show up because such and such
Mm,
gonna be there, and I don't really mess with dude like that. Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? And so
yeah.
those type of family stuff, and also, my nana passed away. This was gonna be the first Thanksgiving without Nana there. You
There
know,
you
with her
go.
grandma there. So you, piling all of that stress. Um, I really dealt with a lot of my emotions horribly,
Hmm.
and the way that I deal with things now are much more healthy. But
Hmm.
my little war
That
story
takes
was,
time. Yeah.
yeah, it was really really tough, and really really tough, and I drowned myself in a lot of poison. You know,
Hmm.
like that was gonna help my situation out at all, and it didn't. It just now I'm poisoned, still in
Hmm.
a horrible situation.
Yep. No, no, that is so real, man. It can make a
It
bad
doesn't help.
situation worse. And
Yes, it doesn't help.
and I'm glad you again read that because you can develop Shout out to our last episode and our guest Danae. Codependency, she's
Oh
part of
yes,
Codependence Anonymous, and actually, there's some stuff working on behind the scenes, and kept in communication with her. There's going to be some more collaborations with that because, that's very
great, dude.
important.
That is
Yeah,
awesome
yeah,
because
that's very
you guys
important.
did a great job. And
Thank you. I really enjoyed that
when you
episode. If
were
you haven't seen
talking,
it, people, previous
go
episode,
back.
episode 38, go check that
Yeah,
out, man.
go
Do yourself
back
a
and
favor,
check
people.
out the podcast, man. It's great. I love listening to this while I'm at work and stuff. I love talking about it as well. And a lot of the stuff that she talked about with codependency, I pulled up on that on a. I know this is probably a little side note of. Oh no, this fits
Sidebar.
in.
Yeah. Okay.
It fits in with family stressors. But I pulled up to a Alano meeting. I thought
Mm-hmm.
it was an AA meeting. I don't know if I told this story on here.
Nah, nah. So
Um,
you thought it was okay.
but yeah, man, my sponsor was like, "Yeah, pull up to this Tuesday night meeting or whatever." And I'm like, "All right, bet." I'll pull up to the meeting. I think it's just a AA meeting. It's an Al-Anon meeting. So these are all like codependents and
Mm-hmm.
people affected by alcoholics
Yeah.
or addicts. So these are all the victims, like all the other people.
Yeah.
Man, when I tell you, that was probably the most emotional meeting I ever been to in my life. It really
Wow.
was, but it did put everything in perspective for me because we broke off into small groups, and I was in one room with this older lady, and she looked at me, and I don't know, dude. It was my turn to speak, and I was like, I feel like I'm the reason that you guys are all here. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Somebody, because the stories that they talked about sounded just like the type of stuff that I would do.
it's
You
real
know,
familiar.
it was very familiar, and I see them. They're in tears and they're crying and they're talking about the stuff, bro. I'm like, that was me. Like it
Mm,
was like sitting in a room and of people that I've hurt. Everybody that I
mm,
hurt just came in a room and talked about it in front of me, like the whole time. And I'm like, oh man. But the way that they supported each other, they gave me a big hug and they were like, it's okay. They were like, but we still love you. We're still here. Like they
mhm.
said the type of things that if it was my family sitting around, that's what my family would have said. So they
Yeah.
made me feel loved. You know what I mean? And they hugged me. They
Yeah.
they they told me that they understand. That it's
Yeah.
okay. And
Woo.
I know, man.
And at the time when you're feeling down, like I said, when you feeling like you're
Yeah.
responsible for everybody being there, you ain't never met
Yeah.
them before.
I
When you
never
got
met
those,
these people
never met
before.
them a day in life, but all of a sudden
Yeah.
you feeling like,
Oh
and
man.
and when people don't kick when you're down, that's why again, healthy
Yeah.
organizations, groups, things like
No.
that, is so necessary just because otherwise let's say you never went to that meeting, there would have been an incomplete, you wouldn't see it maybe full circle,
Yeah.
the other side of it. There was
Yep.
the benefit that you derived of it. You had to get through the pain of it, confronting
Yep.
it. That was
And
uncomfortable. That was stressful, man. People don't
I
necessarily do that, but the blessing
no,
in it,
that's outside of your comfort zone. And
very
I've
much
done
so.
that before. Like while I was in rehab, Alicia came up there and everything. I've done that, but I think the reminder,
Hmm.
the brain works funny. Like it chooses to forget what it wants to. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Especially dealing with overusers of substances. I'm gonna keep using their word.
There you go.
Addicts or alcoholics.
Or
Um,
codependence. Again, I
or
learned from the thing. You can
codependents.
have a codependent, unhealthy relationship with a
Yes, you could.
substance, man. And that's what
Yep.
it hit me a little close to home right there. I was like, man, hold on. Am I handling certain things the right way? Is there a codependent? Because like every episode, man, I think I got some of it, every last
Yeah.
one of it, you know.
Excuse me.
I'm like,
Yes.
man, maybe
Yes.
I think I got a little schizophrenia. I think I'm a little depressed. Got some
Yeah.
anxiety issues. You know what? I think I'm on the spectrum. I swear, every
I
episode.
I thought that too. Yep. Yep. I'd be starting
And
to think
so,
about it.
of
And
course,
I'm
the
horrible because
codependent.
I'll start Googling stuff
Yeah,
immediately.
yeah.
I'll get to looking it up. Oh, let me get some more information on
You know? Exactly,
it.
man. So I feel like that one episode of The Simpsons, like when Mr. Burns, he goes to the doctor and they tell him, "Sir, you have every disease known to man." He was like, "Even prenatal eclampsia? Yes, a little bit. Like something that you couldn't even have as a man." you know, it's like something that's not even possible, man. Like
Yeah, I
I
I
have a
got
whole episode
everything.
on I know I had a whole episode on postpartum depression. I'm like, man, maybe I had a little postpartum. You know what?
You know what? Something did leave me. I felt like
You know what?
I'm
It
part
should,
ways with
should
something.
be. Who knows?
That's
So,
hilarious. That is
no, that's why,
hilarious.
I was like, thank you for sharing that too, because again, these
Yeah.
things are, they're not isolated. That's why I'm glad the podcast is what it is about all
Yeah,
things
man.
mental health, as we say in the intro, all things, because it's not disconnected.
No, it's
as much
not.
as we think. It's not as
No.
compartmentalized as we think. Our issues, our problems, whatever it is. I think, especially as men, sometimes we pride
Yes.
ourselves. I keep my, work and life
Oh
and
yeah,
home
yeah.
separate.
I
Da, da,
keep
da. I'm
all
the
my
man.
feelings in check.
Everything.
My
No,
feelings are
bro.
in check 24/7. I'm
You
never
know,
insecure
yeah.
or I'm
Just
never
got
fearful.
just got
Get
through
come on,
reading all
son.
my
Yeah,
stoicism
yeah, yeah.
textbooks, and
I'm
but
I'm
no, man.
here straight up as an advocate for people who went down who made a wrong turn, or people who made mistakes, or people who was obsessed with some stuff. That you know what, there is a bounce back game. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? You too can be very resilient, more resilient than you believe yourself to be.
There you go.
Seriously, day by day, one habit at a time, one thing at a time. You know what I mean? Sometimes minute by minute. You know, it is possible. It can be done.
Hmm.
You know,
Absolutely.
people change. Things aren't always so black and white.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No,
And
that.
family. I remember back in the pre-baby days for me before I had babies.
Hmm.
Um, it was always family isn't always blood. Family is also the squad right here, the people that you would.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I
Gang,
know
gang.
gang, yeah.
That's how they say after the kids see gang, gang.
Gang gang. Yeah, you know what I mean? Or squad. Uh
Yeah,
little
squad
flock.
goals, all of
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So,
Sometimes we consider these people family. And
hmm.
you know what? There's a lot of stress that can happen there. I'm
Hmm.
gonna do it a story about an anonymous.
All
They
right.
were cousins. They go out together all the time, but one cousin drinks more than the other cousin. So one cousin
Hmm.
slapped at the bar. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And this happens all the time. And now the one that slapped at the bar, he feel like he, super bear. He want to fight people. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So now, you know what I mean? You got that. And we all know how that situation plays out, right?
Hmm.
But how do you address that? You know what I mean? If you're really trying to address it with your family member, man, like how you tell, yo, I don't really want to go hang out with you all the time, even though we go out all the time. We're like
Hmm.
bros. But sometimes I'm not sure if I want to roll with you, man, because you be wilding.
Yeah.
Like how do you bring that up without hurting that person's feelings?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And again that I'm gonna do an episode on this. Authenticity versus attachment. Shout out to
Ooh.
Gabor Mati. We have that need to be authentic, but we have our need for attachments. In life,
Who's Gabor
and
Mate? How you gonna throw that shot out there real
Oh,
quick?
Gabor
You got
Mati. I've
you
mentioned him on the
been
podcast a bunch of
okay,
times, man. He's
alright.
a no, he's a he was an MD, but he was a
Gabor
writer.
Mate?
Yeah, Gabor Mati. Yeah,
What
man.
up, Gabor
He was
Mate? I hope you
yeah.
listening.
Yeah, man, for sure. I'm reading a audiobook of his right now. And but
Nice.
one of the things he talks about is authenticity versus attachment, and those are two things that we just need. But
Mm,
our need for attachment is much more when we're younger, when we're children. We need those relationships to keep us alive. And
yeah,
so we're willing to go along, get along, be quiet, do what we got to do, boom, boom. Be a good little kid, boy, whatever it is, but not worrying about our authenticity,
yeah,
but for the sake of those attachments. But as we get older, like I said, now you're older, you're going to the bar, you're grown now.
yeah,
You know,
yep,
we're worried now, that need for being yourself matters more.
yep.
Now, the things that we do as we get older and suppressing our authentic self, maybe is to drink to excess so we can be around in certain situations.
Oh,
Maybe it is
yeah,
to take certain substances. Maybe it is to continue
yeah.
relationships, keep coming to functions, whatever. Something you don't want to
Validation.
do that because why? Yep, exactly. Because we're scared. We violate our authenticity because we're scared to lose those relationships, those attachments. But
Yeah,
we need it. That you got to have that balance because um, you know, the stress of again not being ourselves, the stress of pretending, the
yeah.
stress of putting on being okay when you're not okay. Again, that's what this show is all about, man. It manifests itself
Man,
in so many different
Eric,
ways,
you
and
preaching right now.
like I said, I got a
Amen,
whole
brother.
episode. I got a whole episode in the chamber on that. Don't worry, I have been working behind the scenes. Like I said, we just been in car
Yeah.
accidents, man.
Yeah,
Okay,
we just
we've
been
been
said we just been in
we,
car.
we've been
We just
going
been in
through it.
car
People in
accidents.
and
Like
out
we
of the
just been
hospital, man.
collectively one after another. Shit's
We've been
crazy.
rolling with the punches, bruh. So,
You know what? Ever since that Rolling with the Punches episode, life has definitely been rolling with the punches. Like I
man.
said, people go back and listen to some of the older episodes. We really do this out here. Uh, shout out to my therapist.
Okay, I got you.
'Cause
Shout out to your
yeah.
therapist.
I'm also working on attachment issues, Eric, because
Mhm.
I wanted to touch a little bit more on, well, he's like, if you want to
No,
do another episode on that, we
a
could
whole nother
definitely
like
do
I
it.
said, there's another episode. I can get you on that. I have
I
a whole nother
definitely
episode prepared, for
you
that, so
know,
that's
that tied into my family because I put all of my everything on like attachment issues. I attached myself to my daughter. I think almost in
mhm.
some unhealthy manner sometimes. Not
The
don't get
volleyball
crazy.
dad for real,
But
man.
yeah, like overprotective, you know what I
Mm,
mean? And that became and as my daughter start to do well, you start priding yourself on her victories, and you know what I mean? So there's
mhm.
a lot, dude. You definitely gotta be careful with that. So
Yeah, that's right, man.
we'll touch base on that. Yeah, I just got a little
Absolutely.
vulnerable with y'all right there, talking a little bit, let
There
y'all
you
in.
go. What he
And
said
in
was,
spirit of female.
don't let that blessing of being a father turn into the curse,
Yeah, exactly.
codependence. Um,
Codependence. You go ahead. That's what I'm
I'm
talking
trying to tell
about.
you that again, this
No,
world is about
definitely.
relationships, man, and
And like I
glad I
said,
made
in
that
the spirit
connection.
of my brother Mino, I know he's been transparent, very self-transparent
Captain
on the
vulnerability.
show. Yes. And still praying for my brother Mino.
For sure,
Uh,
yeah, man. Keep him in your prayers, man. And on that note, we're gonna close out this episode. Thank you for rocking with us for another episode of the Consider Your Mind podcast. You
for
could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we do appreciate that, man. So, any last words for the people, Steve?
be very self-aware and
Mm-hmm.
find somebody to talk about stuff with who is a positive person. Always
Mm-hmm.
talking to deal with things helps to alleviate family stressors. So make sure you're talking with the right people and getting
Mm-hmm.
those emotions and poor emotions and bad communication
Mm-hmm.
often lead to a lot of stress. So be very aware of your emotions along with how you communicate. And that's
That's
all I got.
for sure, man. And I guess I'll just piggyback off that real quick. Get you some people, some support in your life that won't kick you when you're down. Because
Yeah.
we all go through some down stuff. Um, but get you some people in your life that really care about you and can really be there, for you when you're going through it, and won't take the opportunity, like I said, to kick you while you're down, man. If you find some
Mm.
people like that in your life, you better keep them. So,
Yep.
and on that note, man, until next time, peace.
Peace.